Cheryl here from the Rogers Revue, and typically, while I'm normally behind the camera taking some photos, 2023 was a year to take some risks, try to do some things I hadn't done before. So I wanted to hop in front of the camera and get some thoughts out about my highlights from the entire year. Got 5 things on my mind, and they were all super fun events to cover, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do next year. Speaking of, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so because we have a lot of things to look forward to in the new year. I'm looking to talk more about some TV shows, some movies. We're going to be putting up some interviews and hopefully get a few other guests on the channel. So we're going to start at the bottom with number 5. 5. I totally know how to interact in front of a camera, right? But number 5 was a last minute request. We had to cover something that was completely out of my wheelhouse, and I had a lot of fun with less than 24-hour notice. I was interviewing an artist who was performing on stage at the anthem the next day. It was crazy. Somebody asked and I said, sure, I'll do it. I spent a little bit of time researching. I went to the show the next day. There was a little bit of a hiccup with the tickets, getting them in my name, getting in the door. I didn't actually get to see the set, which I'm completely bummed out about, but I did get to spend half an hour with Nando STL and his crew. So it was my first time backstage at the anthem, and hanging out with them was a lot of fun. They're a good group of people, great conversation. I actually uploaded the audio from that interview in the YouTube channel, so we'll put a link to that in the description if you want to hear about it. And it was a crazy situation of online meeting real life because they were on tour with T-Pain, and a few days later T-Pain decided to stream on Twitch from the hotel room, and they were in the background, and I sent their manager a text message. I got on my phone. I was like, hey, just so you know, I finished editing the interview and it's going to be up. Here's the link. And so they were on Twitch with T-Pain, and they gave a shout out and they said thank you, and it was just a really bizarre situation, but it was a lot of fun. Number 4 on the list, also a brand new situation that I got to cover this year, is I had heard about Broadway Con back in, I think it was 2016. They had the original cast of Hamilton, and so when I was in a Hamilton kick, it popped up on YouTube, and it was a great panel discussion. I was like, Broadway Con, New York City, could be a lot of fun to go and attend one of these days. And I chatted with Dean. I was like, hey, do you mind if I put in an application for us to cover it? He said, sure. We'll see what happens. And we got approved. So I got to go to New York City for Broadway Con, and it was so much fun. It's an anniversary year for Avenue Q. So they had some of the original cast. They had a few panels. They broke out into song quite a few times. It was great. That cast, that album, those puppets. It was great. I got a photo at the end of it. It was just the entire crowd was having a blast. There was also an anniversary for Phantom of the Opera, and that panel had some really good industry discussions. What it's like to be a swing for the show. What is it like to be on tour? And then one of the ones that stick in my mind is, what is it like to go from the touring cast and being cast on Broadway? And one of the stories that one of the main actresses told was, she had done the show so often on tour that you just have this muscle memory going. And so when you're on stage, you just follow how you've done it the last 20 times. And when they were on the Broadway show, I think she said her second night, she was on stage, did her number, and instead of going right, she ended up turning left due to muscle memory or something like that. And that's not where she was supposed to go. There was actually a trap door there for a chandelier, and she almost fell in because she's so petite. She's like, I'd actually fit into that trap door, and the Phantom had to rescue her that night. And one of the notes from the show was, we need to fix that now. It can't happen again. But the highlight of Broadway Con this past year was Wicked. Had some makeup artists transforming someone into Elphaba. They had a lot of panels with individuals and as a group. And then Saturday night, they had the Oz Dust Ball, and it was all about Wicked. Broadway members were singing different songs from the musical. They were switching it up. They were doing cross gender. They were playing different parts that they never got to play on Broadway. So it was like really cool. If you wanted to be Glinda, if you wanted to be Elphaba, they just got to have a lot of fun. And you could tell. And I was right up there, front row, Broadway cast, doing songs, playing parts that they don't normally get to play. And I just had my phone out and I was like, I'm going to record this. And I got some really cool footage that I love. I think I put some highlights on the channel too, so we'll link to that in the description. Number 3, one of my local highlights of the year is, of course, Awesome Con in Washington, D.C. I love it. I've been there so many times. It's always a fun group of people. They've got all these panelists. They've got board games. They've got video games. They've got cosplay. They've got lots of stuff that you can buy. I think I ended up getting these earrings there as well, which I love. Over the years, they've done a great job of getting great panelists there. This year, they had something that made me smile so much. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and so when they announced Sean Astin, Elijah Wood, and Andy Serkis were going to be there, I was like out of my mind. One of the most fun panels I've been a part of in forever. You could tell those 3 really enjoyed working together. They have their inside jokes, they have their conversations, they have their laughter, and it was funny. And some of the stories they told, oh my God, I almost forgot about this one. Somebody asked about their first acting experiences, and Sean Astin, when he was a kid, because his parents were in the industry, and so he was doing something with his mother, and those old school PSAs of, hey, this is dangerous, don't do it, or if you're in this situation, here's how you can ask for help. And it had to do with like a child abuse situation, which isn't funny to laugh about. It's a very serious thing, but he had trouble getting into character on the set because it was his mom and she didn't normally act like that. So he was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't working. And so what ended up happening is his mom took him to the side and said, this is my job. This is very serious. You're not doing this. You're going to cause us to fail. And then he started freaking out and crying, maybe not crying. I forgot how he said it, but he snapped into what they needed. So she's like, roll the cameras, capture this. And everyone in the audience is just breaking out into laughter because he is great at telling stories. They all are. I love hanging out with droids. So we always have the Star Wars droids maker group is there, and you've got some activated R2-D2s that make noise, that move around, that react to people. It's a ton of fun. I love visiting them every year. They've got a kids section. They've got a huge kids section, so it's not just for adults, it's for kids. Got book reading, they've got activities, you can learn how to do lightsaber duels, and the artist alley is just great. This Loki picture that's up here sometimes, I got that a few years ago, and I got an Across the Spider-Verse one that's hanging up somewhere. But I love Artist Alley there. You can always find some really amazing stuff. Number 2 on the list is not strictly a TRR specific event, but it is something I help out with usually, and it's a lot of fun. Lets me talk about movies, short films, long films, and it happens to be the Montclair Film Festival. I was there the first weekend. It is always a great time. I love how they have a variety of movies. I love how they have a variety of films. They've got documentaries, they've got local stuff about stories taking place in New Jersey. They also do some big name films. In the past, I got to see the Glass Onion, a Knives Out film before anyone else, and that was kind of crazy because I couldn't talk about it until it was out, and I really want to talk about that film with other people. This year it was Dream Scenario was the opening one, the new Nicolas Cage film, and that was also something else. That was definitely an A24 film. That was a Nicolas Cage film. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. It is something else, and that was really fun to see opening night early before anyone else. American Symphony was also played there, and I didn't get to see it because I was editing photos, but I was taking pictures during the Q&A, and I got to hear all those discussions, and I cannot wait to see the actual film. And then also, they said there's a lot of stuff that was left on the cutting room floor. They might be doing something else with that footage. We'll see what they come up with, because it is an interesting story, and it's just an in-depth look into an area that we don't get to see too often. And it is, I believe, available now on Netflix, so it's on my list of things to watch. I'll probably pop up on this YouTube channel my thoughts on the film once I get to see it. So be on the lookout. Subscribe again, please. The other true highlight from the Montclair Film Festival is their shorts program. It is sad to me that short films don't get the recognition or the distribution that maybe they deserve. There are some really well done, well told stories that you only get to see in festivals if you're lucky. I had a few extra minutes. I was able to sit through some shorts, and it was phenomenal. There were different stories in different categories, some about real events, real personal, directors who want to put something together to try to get a full film made. Now, before jumping to number one, I want to talk a little bit about our honorable mentions. I did a lot of stuff over the year, and it was great. TRR has been giving a lot of opportunity. I had no intention of going to the New Kids on the Block show, but they came into DC, last minute request, and I had a blast. It was great seeing all the different musical acts, and I can say that I am one of the people who have been rickrolled in person. Other highlights, Harry from the TRR team, he got us to cover a fashion show. That was my first time doing a fashion show ever in DC. That was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of cool designers, models, everything like that, other photographers. So thank you, Harry, for putting us on the list and convincing me to do that. Number one. Can anyone guess what may be number one on my list? If you know me at all, you know me in person, or you follow me a little bit, I think it should be a little bit obvious, but Dragon Con. Dragon Con in Atlanta. This was my second year going, and holy moly, it was a blast. And funny enough, it happened during the writer's strike, during the SAG-AFTRA strike, so people were wondering, would the con even occur this year? How were they going to handle it? And I will say they did it very, very well. And it was actually a really good opportunity for all the panelists because, instead of answering the same questions about their newest show, their newest movies, their upcoming projects, their old ones that they always get asked about, we really got to talk about some personal things, hear about them as real people, what's going on in their lives. And also, I have it on a mission. Somebody asked via the Discord process that they had to screen questions and to ask the questions, which was hilarious because Discord names, people have anything you can think of, and so those are getting asked in a microphone in front of an entire room full of 1,000+ people, But somebody asked if Paul Bettany would ever go on Hot Ones, and he had no idea what that show was. And now I have a mission. Let's get him on the show. He said he would be up for it. I even got a picture of him doing the thumbs up. He is totally down, so we should make it happen. Other things about Dragon Con, every year, cosplay. Oh my god, the cosplayers at Dragon Con go all out, and it is amazing. We had people in different costumes every single day. We had a parade Saturday morning where everyone got to group up and walk as themed groups, and it is amazing because this is all run by fans. There's giant spreadsheets around with, you can coordinate photo meetups of any fandom you can think of, whether it's writing, TV shows, sci-fi, fantasy, mashups, whatever you want. You can find a meetup, you can find a group, you can find somebody doing something, and if not, you just start it. My one complaint about Dragon Con is that it has made me return to Facebook way too often, because a lot of the coordinated efforts, a lot of the shared things are being done on various Facebook groups, and it's great discussions to have. Panelists are working to come together. What kind of topics are they having? Who can they get on the panel? When are you meeting for drinks? When are you meeting for the photo ops? All of that stuff is done on Facebook, and so my Facebook usage has gone way up since coming back to Dragon Con. There's a lot of information about the various cults. I say cults in quotes. If you don't know what they are, I'll maybe provide a link below. This shirt that I'm wearing here is actually part of it. So it's in the design of a carpet from Marriott Carpet. The cults also get pulled into things like the cosplay contest. I have a photo. There was somebody from Avatar, and they were walking around. They also were holding a Hilton sign, because a few years ago, I believe, something happened and there was a flood at the Hilton Hotel, and people rallied around it. And so there have been things like inflatable pools, meetups to relive the flooding of the Hilton Hotel. Any bizarre thing that can happen, will just have a group of nerdy, geeky people who get things done. They will rally around it. It will become a thing at Dragon Con. What else can I say about Dragon Con? I mean, it is just so much. I think there are so many tracks of whatever interests that you might have. You can spend an entire weekend not seeing the person that you're sharing a hotel room with, because you just decide to do different things the entire night. There's battle bots. There's puppets. Puppets are huge at Dragon Con, because there's the Jim Henson Puppet Studio, I believe, in Atlanta. And one that was on my list and I didn't make it to was a Puppet Ninja Warrior. To my understanding, what it is it's like a little Ninja Warrior course. And you sign up as a team, or somehow you've never interacted with puppets. You have no idea what you're doing, and they give you puppets that require multiple people, and you must get them through the Ninja Warrior course. And it sounded so freaking hilarious to watch people try to navigate this. I need to see it next year. It is on my must see next year. Another highlight is books. It is very writer focused in the sci-fi, fantasy. They have some of the publishers there. And this year, actually, because banned books was a whole thing, they had some banned books panels. They had Miss Frizzle panels, so there were definitely people cosplaying as Miss Frizzle. I attempted to go to the banned books panel, but it was full. So technically, I was banned from the banned books panel. Can you believe it? I convinced Dean to go this year, so he showed up for a few days. We tried to meet up deliberately. It didn't work, but then we would randomly see each other walking along the different hotels that are associated with Dragon Con, which all have their own theme. They have decorations up. One of them was themed as Super Mario and had some photo spots, and they also had themed drinks with that. The Marriott has a DJ going until like 2 o'clock in the morning every night. And it's pretty funny to see people in cosplay who are the awkward, don't really know how to dance, and that DJ is getting people to dance, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. But to close it out, there are a lot of events that the TRR team is planning to cover next year. These are the highlights that I had from 2023. I'm sure everyone else had a great time at a bunch of different events. I'm looking forward to next year,